Dear loved ones, I'm sitting here with my bowl of ice cream, my glass of water for my dry throat, ready to tell you something about the history of my family and of myself. These pictures and the stories that go with them will give you a sense of the history of our family. On both sides of the family are people who are willing to venture into unsettled, unknown territory to start new lives, leaving home because of persecution in the old country or seeking adventure or a better life. This history is a part of me that you have inherited, blending with the cultures and the races that make up each of your identities. The picture on the upper left-hand side of the smaller collage is of my great-grandmother on my mother's side, Evangelina Pedrin, and was taken in 1890 when she was an old woman. She was of German descent, and her family settled in West Virginia, probably at the beginning of the 19th century. Below that is my grandmother, Cora Pedrin. She married Harry Frey, who was a German Jew from Austria. He migrated to this country to escape the persecution of the Jews. However, in order to start a new life when he arrived in this country, he didn't reveal any of his background, and it wasn't uncovered until the 1940s when one of his sons decided to trace the family tree. The family was living in Colorado at the time, which was a stronghold of the Ku Klux Klan, so understandably they were very fearful and a little prejudiced themselves. Most of the family went into total denial, and the subject was never allowed to be discussed. There were 7 children in the Frey family, and my grandfather supported them with his business as a well digger. Like many other people living in small rural towns at the beginning of this century, they lived on an acre of land, growing their own vegetables and raising chickens. They had an outdoor toilet until the late 1930s, and when I visited as a small child, I was always terrified of walking to the chickens to reach the commode. My young aunts and uncles would always laugh at the city girl and her fear of the chickens. My grandparents were poor at the beginning, but they prospered later. My mother tells how her mother died at 83, and she went back home to help her brother settle the estate. They accidentally found $20 bills and books all over the house. My grandmother didn't trust banks and kept most of her money at home. She gave bank books a new meaning. My mother is the petite one in the next picture. She was born on the outskirts of Wheeling, West Virginia in 1899. When she was 10 years old, the family moved to Lamar, a small prairie town in Colorado. My mother describes how she and her 2 sisters, wearing big straw hats, sat side by side in a train smoking car, all the way from West Virginia to Colorado. Somewhere during that trip, she decided that Annie Bell was too old-fashioned a name and changed it to Anna. She later came to regret that change, and before she died, she made me promise that her gravestone would be marked Annie Bell. She liked school so much that when the family couldn't afford high school tuition for her, she got permission to repeat the 8th grade. She left school at 15 and went to work for a doctor's family as a housekeeper, cook, helper, and nanny. At 18, she met my father, and a year later they were married. My father's family came to this country on the first boat over and settled in Virginia. My Aunt Mabel always claimed that we are descendants of Martha Washington. Their background is Scotch, Irish, and English. At the top of the page, lined up in a row, is my great-grandmother McGinnis, Grandma Alice Richey, and 2 sisters. At the bottom of the page is their home in Iowa. The 2 pictures at the top of the page on the right are of my Grandma Alice Richey and Grandpa Jack Richey. They were living in the Oklahoma Territory where my father was born. Grandma divorced Grandpa when my father was 5 years old, a pretty uncommon action at that time. She taught school to support herself and her 3 children. No one ever spoke of why we were divorced. It was rather hush-hush. But you can see from the way she stands on that tree trunk that she was a very independent and determined woman. Under Grandpa's picture is 81-year-old great-grandma Kathleen McGinnis, an Irish name as you can find. In the middle of this collage are two pictures of my father, Brian Richey. He is between 18 and 21 years old. When he and my mother were first married, they lived in Lamar and he worked in the flour mill, which he hated. They moved to Denver so he could find other work. My father was a hard worker, but afflicted with cosmic longings, which always pulled him in the direction of finding something better or something new. We moved a lot in the process, and I attended 15 schools in 12 years. He was never out of work except during the Big Depression of the 1930s. His pride and sense of responsibility to his family made this inability to find work a very difficult time for him. My mother and father were both survivors and did their best to hold the family together under often adverse conditions, a lesson they certainly passed on to me. In the back corner on the right side is my father's sister, Aunt Mabel Richey Adkins. We lived close to her for many years, and she treated me like a daughter, making clothes for me, taking me places, and encouraging most of all to imagine I could be an artist. Now we come to the life and times of Verna, Eleanor, Richey, Pedrin Brown. In the upper left-hand corner of this large collage of pictures is a little round-headed kid aged 1 year. Next to it is Family Day with Baby in a Denver park. Naturally, I have no memories of either age. I do, however, have memories of the next picture. Taft is one of the hottest places in California. Whenever I went barefoot, I was always trying to stand in my own shadow, thinking the ground would be cooler. It took a while for me to learn otherwise, but I was only 3 years old. In the next picture along the top, we were living in Oakland on 56th Street. I was 9 and my sister Thelma was about 15 months. I liked to dress like a tomboy, but the beret was to cover up a haircut that I hated. The bow spa was all the rage at the time, and I convinced my mother against her better judgment that haircut would suit me to a T. Well, I was wrong, but I had to live with it until it grew out. It was at this age that I loved the stories my father would tell about how things were made or why things would happen. Never true stories, and the more graphic and horrible the better. One example was the straight-faced tale of how French's mustard was made of ground-up baby shit. My cousin Betty and I would squeal and gag, but encourage him to go on and tell another equally repulsive story. The next picture is on the beach in Santa Cruz, one of the happiest summers I ever had. We lived in Santa Cruz for a year, and all summer long, I would take my brother and sister down to the beach where the river flowed into the ocean. The river was calm and not too deep, just right for 3 kids who couldn't swim. My mother was home very pregnant with my sister Norma, and the babysitting was my responsibility. On weekends, my father would come with us and try to teach me to swim by throwing me in the ocean with instructions on what movements to make. To this day, I'm terrified to be in the water where my feet can't touch the ground. Other than that, summer was wonderful. Santa Cruz was still a small resort town where kids could play outside from morning to dusk, and life was like a Norman Rockwell painting. Back to the second row, we're all again in Taft. Mother, father, brother Glenn, and me. Think those bloomers that come down to my knees. My mother made all my clothes, and the bloomers and dresses always matched. I was almost 11 years old before I had store-bought underwear. I had to have my appendix removed, and when my mother came to the hospital to take me home, she decided that it would embarrass me to put on flower bloomers in front of the 20 kids in the hospital ward, and she brought me a pair of rayon panties. I was thrilled. Next, we're in Oakland again, standing in front of one of the many cars that my father had owned. He had to have a car to get to work, but it was the family drives he took us on that made that car important to the rest of us. There was a lot of countryside around Oakland at that time. It wasn't developed or built up. And we would drive up into the hills and pick wildflowers, which were a very exciting thing for us. I have grown up a bit in the full family portrait taking in Buena Vista Park in San Francisco. At 15, I was full of poses. I would rather show you my best profile than look straight at the camera. Skip down to the third row, and I'm 2, and it's Denver. That doll seems to have its head, but most of my dolls had lost their heads, either before or after I got them, but I loved them anyway. We're in Taft again in the next picture. My mother had brought my brother and me out to where my father was building an oil tank. I'm wearing what was called Dutch boy coveralls, and everyone wore a hat when they went out in that heat. Move along to the classic elementary school picture. I'm in the back row wearing a cynical expression. No one wanted to smile on such a serious occasion. Next, Len, Thelma, Norma, and I were standing in front of my Aunt Mabel's grocery store in Oakland. I worked there the summer I was 17 while she took care of my Uncle Bert, who was dying of tuberculosis. I worked from 7 in the morning until 9 at night, waiting on customers, stocking shelves, and since I didn't get a lunch break, stuffing myself with all bad, very bad food goodies. Go down to the picture of 2 kids leaning against a Model T Ford. I'm looking nonchalant in a dress and hat designed for me by my Aunt Mabel, while my brother is threatening to cry because he's afraid he's going to fall off the tire. Later, when I was 8, we lived in this big brick house in Denver, where I was sure I heard ghosts trailing through at night. Here we are, sitting safely outside on the brick porch railing. I hated Denver in the winter because of the snow. I had to slosh to school in it, and I never could get my galoshes buckles fastened. After attending 3 different high schools, the end of my formal education is represented by the big picture in the center. My high school graduation picture, Polytechnic class of December 1938. We can go to the right side of the collage of pictures of me when I'm all grown up, or at least I'm chronologically older. In about half of them, I still haven't figured out what I wanted to be when I grew up. One of the options I didn't like was marriage, but I hadn't figured out that you could have sex without marriage. In those days, you were a bad girl if you didn't combine the two. Until the feminist movement, the vast majority of young women, no matter what other ambitions they might dream about, responded to the internalized command to marry. Being an old maid was a disgrace to be avoided at all costs. I didn't want my life to be like my mother's, but I didn't know how to avoid it. I was close to 20 when I married. George and I met at a football game through a mutual friend, and he was very persuasive. Here we are on the right side of the top about 2 months after Diane was born. I'm almost 21 years old. To the left of that picture is my cousin Betty, Thelma, and me posing in our sexy movie star shoes. When I wasn't running around in my pajamas doing my housework and taking care of children, believe it or not, I dressed like this. Slightly down to the right is a picture of me looking adoringly at my beautiful children. We were living in Berkeley with my parents in 1949 when my father died. I was 28. In my early 20s, my relationship with my father had developed from one where I loved his raunchy stories to where I responded to his love of discussion or even argument about the current issues of the day. I was full of very firm beliefs about many subjects, and so was he. When I was in middle age, my mother told me he admired Thelma for her independence and ability to work, and me for my insightful and stimulating mind. It was praise I treasured. Go back over a couple of those, and here I am holding Steve at age 2, and at 35, looking more matronly than I will ever look again. Next to that, I'm with his teenage Steve, who has just returned from Cuba and was wearing one of his many disguises as a revolutionary. To finish this collage, the bottom row starts in the left-hand corner. Here I am in all my happiness on my wedding day in August of 1989. The site, Redwood Park, was perfect, the weather was perfect, the catering was perfect, and I didn't trip over the tree roots while walking down the path to join Tom and the wedding party. Political issues have always been a reigning influence on my life, whether it was going to demonstrations, picketing, going to Cuba to see firsthand what socialist revolution worked, or the following story about Greece. My main concern has always been for justice and a fair society for all people. Next to my graduation picture is a passport picture. I've included it because I am 52 and on my way to Greece. Friends I had worked with in Chile on a movie the year before were part of the resistance movement against the military dictatorship of Greece with its widespread use of torture. They asked me if I'd be willing to help in a rescue effort. One of the leaders of the resistance movement inside Greece had been imprisoned and tortured by the government. His rescuers need a safe house rented by an innocent-looking, middle-aged woman who could provide a good friend. I fit right into the role, but it was scary at times. Adventure always draws me in, even when it also scares me. Next is a happier moment, my 60th birthday party. Aging has never distressed me, although I don't like the aches and pains that often come with it. If you live fully and in the moment, age brings experience and wisdom, hard-earned but useful tools to help you live out your life. I see age as a celebration of life and the spirit. The last picture is with a man who has given me the happiest 6 years of my life, taken last year of Tom and me in our backyard. Matt asked me what I thought about what happened to me after death. I'm a spiritual person, but I don't have a connection to traditional religion or a belief in God. An experience I've had 3 times in the past 30 years would be a place to start explaining my beliefs. Each of the 3 times, I've been outside, either walking along the street or sitting in the park. A very strong sensation of being at one with the world and all living things. Flowers, trees, birds, humans flowed through me. I seem to transcend my body and be a part of all this life around me. A tremendous sense of peace and contentment filled me. A small part of that peacefulness is integrated and stays with me. I believe that we're all connected to all of the humans through a pool of collective unconsciousness, or spirit. We draw on it in life and we replenish it at death. The body is the vessel that carries us around during life, and at death the spirit leaves and returns to the pool. We each contribute to this vast resource of collective strengths and weaknesses, and we take from it some of both. I think that when we're alive, we draw on this collective spirit to form the person we are. Within the limitations and circumstances of our birth and parenting, we make choices about what kind of person we want to be. There is an old proverb that says, "Be careful of what you ask of the universe, for it will come to you," and that is who you will be. The sense of connection after death is very strong for some of us. My father's spirit stayed with me for many years. To my children, Diane, Dan, and Steve, who have given shape and meaning to my life, and over time, made me a better parent. To my grandchildren, Justine, Matt, Joaquin, and Maya, who are my joy and delight. To Jenny, though not my birth daughter, has through love and caring become my daughter. And to my dearly beloved Tom, my spirit is there to be drawn on when needed for comfort and support, and left to rest when you have found your way. I love you all.